Welcome back to Walsall Fan TV. The joy and the pain. We're certainly experiencing it already. We're here for the preview of Bradford against Walsall. But before that, we've got some guests and we're going to talk about what's going on so far with Walsall. Right then, let's see if I got this right. Hang on. Yes, we got the boys on. We got Daz, Lee and Rob. Rob's first time joining us on a live stream. So first of all, hi Rob. How you doing?
Yeah, hi. Not too bad, thank you. Yourself?
yeah. We're getting there. I think we're getting there. And Daz and Lee, we recognise you guys. You okay?
Yes, thanks.
Jolly good. So, first and foremost, Walsall, as you may be aware, won the first 3 matches of the season, and we all thought we were going to walk the league. Then it sort of went a bit pear-shaped, didn't it? Stevenage is a game we should have won. Barrow, don't know what happened there. Gillingham, suddenly there's no confidence in the team. Why has it gone wrong so quickly? Go to Daz first. You're on mute, Daz. You have to switch your mute off.
If I had a pound for every time I did that, part of the problem was I think we started so well. You know, we Hartlepool game probably was a false dawn in terms of where we're at. We backed it up a week later and got through the cup. And I think the 3 goals we conceded in, 12 minutes, 13 minutes, the Stevenage equaliser, and then the giveaway at Barrow, really set us back.
Lee, what do you think? Why did that suddenly change?
I think probably the good start we had was probably too good, if that makes sense. In the sense that I'm not saying all the players thought this, but maybe 1 or 2 were starting to think we're a bit better than the standard's going to be in League 2, and it's going to be easy or easier than they thought. When other teams have looked how Walsall have started and gone, the best way to deal with Walsall is get straight at them, press them, don't give them any time or any space. And so that's what Barrow did. And then I suppose Flynn might turn around and say sort of the Barrow and the Gillingham game, both being away and the travelling, but obviously you're going to have them sort of issues through the season. And then I think he's also made the comment that 1 or 2 of the players are sort of carrying injuries at the moment, aren't they? I think Conley's one of them who's sort of playing, but he's not fully fit. But
I want to talk about Conley separately because that's something I want to get onto.
I don't think that should distract from the actual squad, because I think even with those couple of injuries we're carrying, we should have a big enough squad and enough quality to deal with the game. But obviously, when I went to Barrow, like Daz has just said, that first sort of 15, 20 minutes, we looked like we hadn't played together, and Barrow were up for it, and they were sort of into us straight away. Second half was better because obviously we didn't just totally disintegrate and we got ourselves back into the game. And in theory, we could have sneaked a point that night in the last sort of 30 seconds of the game. But I think it's just the pace of that sort of first 15, 20 minutes, they sort of took that breath away.
Yeah.
And Gillingham was just a poor performance, because I went to Gillingham and I was talking to a few Gillingham fans before the game, and some of them are really fearful for what they're going to do this season. And then it just looked like 2 teams that weren't that good, to be honest with you, because we had like the one chance from Johnson, and then I did.
We just go to Rob in a second. Daz, I think, can you just mute because your sniffs are coming through a little bit loud? So, Rob, what's your take on the great start and then how it's capitulated so quickly?
Well, if you look at the league table, look at where Hartlepool are, it kind of says everything you need to know, really. Obviously, great start to the season. Everyone was optimistic. But then when you look at where Hartlepool are after 6 games, it kind of makes sense. I mean, we've had, I think, what we're on now, 17 at the minute, unless we've signed somebody else in the last 10 minutes, new signings. obviously it's going to take time for them to gel. The old cliche that you give your managers, I suppose, is the same with the squad. Give them 10 games and see where we're at and see what we're doing. I think the equaliser that Stevenage scored maybe knocked a bit of stuffing out of them. And then Barrow, obviously 12 minutes, 2-0 down, 2 headers. I just think a lot of it's probably down to the fact that they are a new team and they are still getting used to being together. I know that probably sounds a little bit daft given that they've had pre-season and a lot of our signings were made quite early this year, but 6 league games probably isn't enough to judge them on, really. They're going to need a bit more time to gel. Obviously, after the end of the transfer window tonight, you've got your set squad of players and you can kind of mould them and work with them then moving forward. So maybe by the end of September, beginning of October, we'll know a little bit more about the squad and what we should be looking for.
Yeah. I think I'll be interested to hear what you guys think. Against Stevenage, I think that defeat, largely is down to Mike Flynn. And I think a couple more of the performances, really, particularly against Grimsby again. I think that sort of tactical nous and using of subs and changing it when you're obviously under the cosh. That's because that really hurt me, the Grimsby defeat, because we were much better than them and we just let them come on to us. And we should never have lost that game. Losing from a winning position is very, very painful.
I was going to say on that, we tried really hard to lose that game, I think, and eventually we did it.
It's like the writing was on the wall, and the same as the Stevenage game. Stevenage, fair enough, they've come out the blocks this season. They're doing very well, but we pretty much had that game won, and it was 36 degrees, and we didn't make any subs. They're making all their subs fresh. They're pushing us, and we were just, like as Stephen said, I think on one of the videos, we got the shield, and we're just letting them hit it, and eventually something gets through.
Just a quick one on that, Simon. I mean, Flynn's the manager and he works with the players day in and day out. And I know what you're sort of saying with the subs, but I think sometimes if you're losing the game, it's easier to throw the subs on and try and change the game. Where if you're winning the game, if you throw on the subs and then you lose a bit of formation or a couple of the players that come on lose a runner and then you concede a goal, you're opening yourself up for criticism in that way because you're like, well, why are you changing it for?
Yeah. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yeah.
Well, I think especially with the 5 subs, if you are losing, I mean, the last sort of 10 minutes, you could throw 3 players on and just roll the dice, don't you? Because in that case, you haven't got a great deal to lose. But I think sometimes if you're winning, it's harder sometimes to make them tactical substitutions because if it goes wrong, like I've just said, everybody on your back straight away. And more often than not, if a player comes in and they're not quite up to the speed of the game or something and they lose their runner and it creates a goal, then you've lost the game, haven't you?
Question for Daz. The experienced manager, does he generally wait or does he make the change when you're ahead?
He makes a change at the right time. I know that's a cop-out. I know that's sitting on the fence, but that's what he's paid to do. He's paid to punt. He's paid to make a change at an appropriate time, and when that is, he's when that is. I think he was at Barrow. He made it before half time, which is slightly easier to do now when you've got 5 subs.
When you're 2 down as well,
and you're 2-0 down. But it's picking the right time. I think Lee makes a good point that Stevenage can throw people on and they've got nothing to lose. You know, I think the criticism is valid. That in the temperatures that we played in, 2 substitutes or whatever we did wasn't enough. And we needed to have a think about it. But it's one of the, you kind of you 1-0 at home, running into injury time, which time and time again you get pushback, you get stretched across your 18-yard line. You're at the mercy of of luck sometimes. And Stevenage, you got nothing to lose.
Yeah, I think for me, we could all see it was going to happen. We could all see that winner was coming. And you got to be brave. And the thing is, Mike Flynn, I think, is a good manager, but he's still quite a young manager, and still learning the ropes a little bit. I think the Grimsby manager, Hurst, is it? He did us for tactics, didn't he? Second half.
Just a quick one on that, Simon. Do you think he's sort of caught between two sort of formations at the moment? Because obviously, I don't know the full about how fit everybody is and who's carrying injuries and everything, but he sort of, I know sort of the EFL and the League Cup games, he's been able to change the formation more than he has in the league. But do you think he's sort of thinking, should he be like that 3-5-2, or is he thinking more like the 4-3-3 sort of formation?
Well, I think, what do you think on that, Rob?
It's an interesting point. I think in the like Lee said, in the cup games, he's gone to a back four, and barring Tuesday night, it seems to be working to an extent. But obviously, he's resting Peter Clark when he plays a back four, and then he obviously brings him back in for the league games, which means we have to go to a back three unless you want kind of Manny Mont playing left back, which by all accounts in pre-season I don't think worked. I don't think he knows his best 11. I think he knows the majority of his starting players, but I don't think he actually knows his best 11. If you asked him to name it, I think he wouldn't just be able to come out and tell you 1 to 11 straight away. I think he'd have to think about it. And obviously, I suppose, like he's mentioned in the press, you've got various little niggles and injuries that are showing up because of the amount of games that we've had, and he's had to restrict the amount of training that we've been doing because of the games. So I think he's in a bit of it's the same for everybody in the league, really, so it's not an excuse, but
yeah,
I just don't think he knows his best 11 yet.
I think the injuries obviously have hurt. A question from Ian Allen: do the lads think our midfield is good enough? Before we go to answers on that, I think we've got a lot of midfielders, and Comley was not fit when you've got Ram, Hutch, and Flynn Clark sitting on the bench. So why did he play Brandon Comley on Saturday when he knew he wasn't fit? So is our midfield good enough? What do you think?
I think our midfield is. I think our midfield is good enough, but again, sort of what Rob's just said. What formation does Flynn want to play, and how does he want the midfield to play? Because sort of when we got the three in there, sort of which three? Because we've sort of Comley and Kinsella, who both sort of play with a heart on the sleeve, but they both sort of sit more, don't they, than get forward. So then that only leaves your other midfield player to get forward, and then you're relying on your wing backs to provide the width for your two strikers. So, but then when we played sort of Charlton, and you sort of saw that sort of anchor role, what Jack Earing was doing in front of the back four,
yeah,
and then the other three,
yeah,
and then the other three in front of him was a little bit more fluid because they were changing sides, they were sort of interchanging places, and it sort of looked quite good.
I thought the formation against Charlton and the way we played against Charlton was excellent. So
I think he's got a bit of a problem. I don't think it's so much the quality of our midfield, let alone probably should say that some of them should be better than they are, but I think that'll come in time. But I think it's the initial way he wants to set up and whether he wants to play with them two holding midfield players or he's just going to have the one holding midfield player and have two more attack-minded. I think he's caught between that sort of. Does he play Comley and Kinsella, or does he just play one of them, or none of them?
Yeah,
I think on that point, with Comley and Kinsella, if they're both fit, I'll rate Kinsella for what he does. He's good at what he does, which is breaking up play. Obviously, his goals and assists are next to nothing over the past 8 to 9 years, really. But in terms of breaking up play, he's a good player. But if you're going to attack the league and you're going to try and not dominating possession, but if you're going to go and try and win a game, especially at home, you need just one of them. Away from home, possibly play the two from the start, and then obviously depending on the strength of the game and the opponent, you can kind of switch that around. But I think definitely at home we should be starting with just the one, and maybe playing a Earing and Hutchinson or Mayer and Hutchinson.
I think that 4-1,
definitely one at home.
The 4-1-3-2 at home, I think, would work.
Yeah, something like that. Obviously, the back four, when we've seen it, other than Tuesday night, has been okay. But then I suppose it's so you drop from the defence as well. Then
because Peter Clark's not going to be great in a 2, is he? So against Grimsby, they just ran past him, didn't they? Twice.
Yeah, that's the issue with playing him in a 2. I think that's why he's favoured of 3, because he's brought him in for his experience, and that's why he's in the centre of the 3 of them as well, I think.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, as a 3, he's excellent as part of the 3.
But just saying that, Simon. Oh, sorry, Daz. Just a quick one on that one. But following from like what Rob's just said, obviously, if you play the back 3 and then you have both Kinsella and Comley sitting in front of them, that's basically 5 defensive-minded players. And you would think that we should be solid, but we haven't been solid, have we? Because we've still conceded goals. So I suppose it's getting that balance right of being able to attack, so we can create chances, but also try and keep the clean sheets. But I suppose that's where Flynn's looking at it, whether he thinks he can keep clean sheets and nick games 1-0 or 2-0, or whether he's got to go a little bit more attack-minded and sort of maybe leave chances for the opposition. I suppose that's what he's sort of trying to balance at the moment.
I think with that 3-5-2, having that defensive 5, we are very solid. But then if you're defending for 45 minutes, it's only one chance, and then you knackered it, haven't you? Sorry, Daz, go on.
There's a couple of things that are relative to what we've already talked about. Rob's absolutely right for what it's worth. There's particularly at home. There's only one place for those 2 players. Whether it's either Comley or Kinsella, make a decision. Trying to play Kinsella in an 8 role is just ludicrous, and particularly at home, there's one place. I think it also relates to what Lee said earlier. He doesn't know his best team at the moment, doesn't know his best formation, doesn't know what definitely works, what definitely doesn't work. And I think it's a combo of the 2, but he needs to sort it out quicker sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd kind of raise is I think the majority of people have been impressed with Mayer and the way that Mayer has broken into the team. It may well say something about the quality of what else we've got in midfield when a 17-year-old with 7 games behind him is looking so good.
Yeah.
I think we've got a lot of landfill midfielders, I have to say.
Well, Hutch looked very good against Hartlepool, but he has looked weak since then. He's sort of lost some of his mojo. Flynn Clark, he played Tuesday, and he's not ready for the first team, just from that viewing. Brown and Mayer, I think, because he's homegrown, and myself and Lee, we've sort of had some contact with him and that sort of stuff. So we are sort of championing him, sort of thing. But I mean, as you say, Daz, we're asking a lot of a very young lad there.
I thought he was as good as anybody on Tuesday when he came on against Barrow. When he threw him on early, I thought it was unfair, and he just rose above everything and almost dragged it out. Changed the game against Swindon. I think if I was a midfielder and I was being outshone consistently by a 17-year-old, I'd start to worry about what I was contributing.
Yeah, I think we're all agreed the defensive midfield, you've got Kinsella preferably alongside Earing or Hutch, and then a more attack-minded Cam.
Just a quick one on that sort of, Simon. Do you think sort of the injury to Joe Riley sort of made him have to play both Kinsella and Comley? Do you think Joe Riley was going to sort of have one of their places, and it might have been like Joe Riley and say Kinsella and then another, and with the sort of idea that Riley would give you that bit of defensive, but he's also got that ability to get forward and help out the attack. So do you think that's sort of where Flynn's gone a bit at the moment, because obviously with Riley, still don't know exactly when he's going to come back, do we, with his foot injury?
I think slightly put Flynn off is an understatement. I think that has knocked him sideways, because I think Riley was going to be... He was one of the early signings, wasn't he? Riley was a key signing, and he knew exactly how he wanted to play the team, using him as the centre point. And with him not being there, I think that has really kicked him sideways a bit, really. Couple of comments on the... We've got here, Mr. Crayon Eater. I don't think that's his proper name, to be honest. Tactics aren't helping that we score early and sit back. But that's down to the manager. The manager's got to stop them, because at the manager's forum, he said, in training and the mentality we're pushing forward is we're always looking to score the next goal. Well, that wasn't the case at Stevenage, and it wasn't the case at Grimsby. So that's not working.
Until Saturday happened, I'd have said that, and I've said to people before Saturday, that if we score first, then we don't really, we hadn't looked in danger of really losing the game. But if they scored first, then we'd find it difficult to come back. But I think it was John Whitney, maybe. I think we played Northampton away. I think Oztuna scored after about 40 seconds or something, and he came out with the quote that we'd scored too early. And judging by the way we played against Grimsby, it seems like we scored too early for the tactics that he wanted to employ. It was almost like he was trying to go for a 1-0. And obviously backfired.
On the essence of what he said at the managers' meeting was always looking to get the next goal. If we'd have done that against Grimsby, we could have really rolled them over. They looked very vulnerable to a hiding almost. And then we didn't take our chances. If Knowles had took one of his chances, then it would have been a different finish, wouldn't it? Sort of needed some composure.
Yeah, it probably should have been a different story. Before Grimsby scored, we should have been 3 or 4-0 up quite easily. But you don't take your chances, and that's what happens.
Yeah. And that, of course, that there was that chance for DJ, wasn't it? Played across to DJ, and he's stretching for it. That was there was loads of chances, wasn't there? But it's goals change games, don't they? If you don't convert your chances sooner or later, we knew when Knowles went through, and it was a great pass from Earing. Knowles cut inside the defender, and then he was onto a 1-on-1 with the keeper, and just everybody was backing him to score, but he just ran out of legs, I think.
I think he's trying too hard. I think once he scores, I think when he does score, I think he'll be a screamer as well. I think because he's trying that hard, I think it'll just be a quick reaction. He'll hit the ball 30 yards, it'll go in. And I think once he scores his first one, I think he'll actually score quite a few.
I think.
But he's just getting that first one. He's got too much time to think about it with that 1-on-1, with how hard he's trying as well.
And Andy Williams, he's probably the same as well. It's not quite happened for him, has he?
Unfortunate against Charlton, but I think I think the longer the run goes on, the more it's going to be playing on his mind. And similar to Knowles, I guess he's trying to impress, new club, new set of fans to impress, and he needs a goal as well, really. Otherwise, he needs to be taken out for a little bit, I think.
It's all about DJ at the minute, isn't he?
Seems that way.
And just a quick one on that, Simon. I mean, we have only played 6 league games. And I know the last couple haven't been great, but I feel like we have progressed than we was last season. Just like we've just said, against Grimsby, we did have chances. I mean, that sort of game last season, we probably wouldn't even be talking about having that many chances, would we?
No.
If you think about it. So I think there's. I know it's not good, but I don't think it's like we're in dire straits, because I think I'm hoping we could do a bit of a Bristol Rovers, where sort of they had a really sort of dodgy, slow start to the season, and then the second half of the season they just sort of clicked into gear, didn't they, and got themselves up there. So I think if we give them a bit more time,
I'm liking your positivity, Lee. So,
I'm just going off the games I've seen, mate. I mean, even the Barrow game, that sort of game last season, we probably would have ended up losing that 4 or 5-0.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. I say I like your optimism, but I mean, I'm sort of a similar volition, really. I think we've got a good squad. I think we've got a good squad that's capable of challenging top 7. It's just we sort of got derailed a little bit. I think good stuff is not far away, but we got to arrest that slide and get the grip again. I think.
And again, it's not a good thing, but hopefully the group of players we've got, they seem more of a team and more caring and more together. And hopefully they've had having the sort of same conversations between themselves, and they want to improve themselves. And obviously Flynn and the rest of the management team have got to help them, but it's down to them as well. Sort of like a little bit what Daz said earlier, with like, especially the midfield players, they should be looking at Ram and thinking, if a 17-year-old's out playing me, perhaps I've got to get my head down and put the effort in a little bit more and be that bit more confident. But I think, like you said, I think the team's there, and I think sort of after 6 games, okay, it's not great, but it's not a disaster as well, because like we could be sort of like Hartlepool, couldn't we, or Crawley sort of thing. And I think probably
with the investment in the team, with the investment in the team, which has been strong, we're expecting more. But we now Salford have spent a lot of money and it's not gone well for them. But I think it's fair to say there is optimism there, and I think as we kicked off with, the winning those 3 games has sort of lifted our expectations too much, perhaps, and we're sort of coming back down to earth now. The old joy and the pain that we used to talking about. I want to
just
talk
quickly.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say just quickly. I was going to say we've got to remember we've got 5 players out injured as well. That at least 3 of them would probably be in your starting 11, if not 4 of them. Maybe Mackenzie would be a sub, but whether we're relying on them to come back in January, whether we'll do a lot in January, I don't know, because they're going to be like new signings again, and potentially when they come back, there'll be a lot more competition for places, which it sounds a bit crazy given the amount of signings we've made, but I don't think there is a lot of competition for places because the injuries we've got has limited the squad numbers that we've got, and because you've got the 5 sub rule now, they're all practically guaranteed to be in the squad on a Saturday anyway, so there's not much for them to kind of worry about, because they'll be there, they'll be in the squad going to the game at least. Whereas when the 5 come back, you can have people then who are left at home and whatnot. So maybe when a couple of those come back, you'll see the performances increase.
Yeah, that's always sharpens you up, doesn't it? Knowing that you got to perform.
It's not an 11-man game anymore. Rob's absolutely right about competition for places. Just because you're not in the starting lineup doesn't mean that you're not going to get a game, because there's that many substitutions, and the game's getting faster and faster, later and later. If we can kick out all the time wasting that comes with it, but it is the same. As Rob said, it is the same circle of players that are playing every week. You know, whether Hutchinson starts or he comes on, whether Mayer starts or he comes on, whether, it is the same. The competition for places, there might be a bit of competition for starting place, but they're all getting games.
Yeah. I want to talk about the strikers and a couple of our other players that are new, such as Liam Bennett. But just touching on the we got Cashman, the new signing. I think maybe that is a clear statement that he's not happy with Douglas James Taylor or Timmy Abraham, perhaps. But before we get into that, can we just talk about Bradford? What's your thoughts ahead of Bradford? They've 2 draws, 2 wins, 2 defeats in their last 6. What do you reckon? Is this big attendance, nice big game? Is this the game to turn it round for us? What do you think?
I think it's about time we won there. It's been a while since we won at Bradford.
Yeah. We I'm just looking on here. That's
We've had a few. We had a few scars over the years. One that springs to mind immediately. I think Keats got a result there that was a 1 each, but it's been a while since we won at Bradford.
Yeah, there's one particular
guy. It's been a while
since
we've won this season.
Hey,
It's been a while since we've won this season. I think it's I think we're six games without a win now in all competitions, so it's dragging on a bit now.
Yeah, well, on Tuesday, the first half, it was like watching a youth team game, and then it was when I thought about it at half time that actually there's only 2 or 3 of them that weren't the first team starters. It just seemed very youth orientated.
Tuesday was bad. I made a late decision to go. I checked my email and got a couple of free tickets from a competition I'd entered for some reason. So I thought, why not go? But about 20 minutes into it, I was thinking, why?
Was that 5th prize, was it?
I think I finished last place. I think that was the prize.
Yeah. I had that. That's the story behind this top. I went to, back in the 80s, I was at the Spring Vale in Bilston, and it was a raffle, a Christmas raffle. And I'd bought some tickets hoping to win it. I've been a Walsall fan, obviously. But in Bilston, there's not a lot of Walsall fans. And the different prizes, there was 5 prizes. 4 of the prizes had gone, and that was still there. And I won the 5th prize. So I was overjoyed with that. So that was a good one. We know who's going to score against us on Saturday, don't we?
Yeah, he's doing well this season. I checked earlier. I think I don't know whether I don't think he started all 6 games, but he's played 6 games in the league, and he scored 3. So hopefully this is his 50% where he doesn't score in this one. He can score the game after, but it'll be interesting because he's up against. I'm presuming we'll go 3-5-2 or some variant with 3 at the back. But it'll be interesting to see him against the 3 big lads at the back. But
he'll be
chomping at a bit.
I think. But again, he knows how to find that space, doesn't he? And get that crossing. The amount of crosses we had against West Ham, and they just defended very well. We've got our big guns on, and they was straight to their head every time. So that's going to be a tough one. Who else we need to watch out for at Bradford?
They've got Verdane Oliver, tall centre forward, I think, signed from Gillingham. His contract expired in the summer. A lot of Walsall fans mentioned him as a potential signing. He's there.
And I think a lot of players in, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got a few. They've signed a couple today. Tyreek Wright, who obviously was on loan at us for a little bit.
How was he gone there?
Gone there today, and Dion Pereira as well, who I think they had for about 10 games last year from Luton. He's re-signed again, so it'll be interesting because I think they'll probably go into their first 11. They've been a bit similar to us. They've got a similar record in the league. I think it's identical.
Yeah, but I think we're level, aren't we? We're about. I think we've conceded 1 more. I think something like that.
Yeah, so. It'll be interesting.
Goal difference. We got slightly better goal difference because of our first day joys.
It'll be a good battle, I think.
I think the performance needs to be improved as well. I think obviously the result matters, but I think it's the actual tempo of the game and the formation and like Dad said earlier, hopefully Flynn this time gets his substitutions right at the right times to change the game in our favour and not in Bradford's favour. Because I think, let alone, like, I'm going to say like I'm contradicting myself now, and obviously this is only the 7th league game we've played, but if we don't get a result there, and then it's like 8 points from 7 games, you're sort of looking and thinking you're losing ground on them sort of top 10 places then, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, now I think a win on Saturday, and we're still not guaranteed to be back in the top 7. So that's not great. But it is early days. It is. We can't get sort of too downhearted. But it's those shoots of improvement we want to see, isn't it?
I think these next couple of weeks will tell us quite a bit as well, Simon, because obviously we've got Bradford on Saturday. We've got Leighton Orient coming up in the next sort of 10 days, 2 weeks' time as well, haven't we? Yeah. So I think we've got, and then we've got Northampton as well, haven't we? So I think sort of between now and sort of the end of September will really show us sort of where we can possibly be, because I think we've got some, on paper, some difficult games coming up, but obviously it's League Two, and sort of on your day you can get the results. But I think it's sort of this month will tell us quite a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Bradford
what do you
away.
think, Daz? Do you think we're going to get a result?
I've just looked. We're 7 without a win at Bradford. It's a tough place to go. It's a really I've always thought it a tough place to go. It's about time we got a result there. The Osadebe, the Tyreek, right? They're shopping in the same places as us, so there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to do something. I get the Cook thing, but I'll ask anybody: would you rather have Cook or DJ? It may well not be overwhelming either way, but the point is there's somebody at least as prolific. I think we could probably get something, but it could be any score, to be honest with you. It could be any result. And Lee's right, we've got Northampton next week. Then we've got 2 home games, Saturday, Tuesday, Northampton and Colchester, and then away at Leighton. So we really need something just to get the ball moving again. Yeah,
I think it's that run of defeats. We had that in October, didn't we, last season?
I think the one thing, there's 2 cup games in there. We're 6 without a win. There's 2 cup games, and I think when the fixtures come out, somebody offers you a point at Gillingham. I know they haven't started well, and others are disappointed, but a point at Gillingham's still a decent point, whether you played well or not. But I think we're a million miles away, for what it's worth.
Well, let's hope so. Rob, thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with what Daz says. As to how the game goes on Saturday, I think it depends if there are any goals, who scores the first goal. Because if he goes with, and I know I said it earlier, if we're playing away, you start with the 2 defensive midfielders. But if we go a goal down and you keep them on too long and go a little bit too defensive, then if they score first, I think they win. If we score first, then it opens them up a little bit more, because they're going to have to come and attack us a little bit more. And as Daz said, it could be any score then. But I just think if they score first, I think that's 3 points to them, the way it's going with us at the minute. Would
we settle for a point now? That's Ian Allen's comment. Settle for a point at Bradford. What do you think?
I think you would at the start of the season. If you looked at the fixture list and you were going to write down what points you'd put against which games, I think you'd take a point at Bradford away any season, to be honest. But ideally, we need the 3.
Yeah, it'd be nice to sort of kick back into gear with a win at Bradford. That would be pretty special. Up front, Timmy, he's clearly a development player, isn't he? He shouldn't be in the first team yet. Or do you think differently? Daz?
Okay, I saw him a couple of times in pre-season, and Telford in particular, and there looks something there. But I think you have to set that against the opposition, and I don't mean to disrespect Telford, but he was playing against Telford. I think there's something there. I think there's something they can work on, but being first choice off the bench, not sure. Don't think so. I think there's a bit more development work to do there. He, like the lad from Stoke,
James Taylor.
They had chances on Tuesday night, and the fact we signed another striker today from Coventry probably indicates what Flynn thought of him on Tuesday night as well.
Yeah, I think Douglas James Taylor, he didn't seem to have many chances on Tuesday night, but I think given what Timmy's done so far when he's come on, I'm surprised that Douglas James Taylor hadn't had more chances. But I say, Mike Flynn's the one that watches them in training, and if they're not impressing in training, they're not going to get on the pitch, are they?
Yeah. I mean, Oh, sorry, Daz. The one with Timmy. The one with Timmy is you can tell. This is going to sound really weird now. To me, it seems like he's trying that little bit too hard. Like the kid's trying his heart out and he's giving 100%. And I know it's sort of counterproductive to say, but I think especially as a striker, he may need just to relax a little bit, because I think he's got the pace. And I think it's just that first touch. But I think because he's trying so hard, when the ball does come to him, he's like trying to think, right, what am I going to do before he's actually got the ball? And then when the ball does come to him, his first touch, it's bounced off him, and then he's like chasing after it again. So I suppose that's where sort of behind the scenes in training and everything, where I don't know whether if they need to put a bit of an arm around him or sort of just, I don't want to say calm him down, because that sounds like then you've got to relax too much. But I think that's probably Timmy's problem at the moment. I think from what I've seen of him, I think he's trying that little bit too much. And then when he does get the ball, he's sort of controlling it, and then he's chasing after it again. So he's not relaxing it. Where obviously DJ's like an experienced pro, and you can see as soon as the ball comes to him, his first touch and the way he takes his goals, his confidence is there. I think with Timmy, he just needs that little bit of calming down just a little bit, I think. And I think you probably see him perform a lot better. I don't know whether that's just me or not.
What do you think of him, Robs, from what you've seen?
Not impressed, but not. I suppose it's like we said, he's a development player. He played Tuesday against West Ham's kids, and that's kind of the level he's been. I know he was at Newport, but he's basically come from Fulham youth team, reserve team. So he's kind of the level he's been playing at, and he's had a bit of men's football exposure, if you like, at Newport, and he didn't really stand out against West Ham's kids either. So if we're relying on him to come off the bench for us, that probably says more about us than him. I think the fact that we've brought in this lad from Coventry will knock him down another place in the pecking order. Yeah. But maybe further down the line, talking about formations earlier, whether he switches the formation, I don't know whether he'd maybe see him as more of a winger, because he's got the pace to.
Yeah, he plays out wide, doesn't he, as well? Yeah,
he's got the pace to burn past players, but his first touch isn't great, so that needs to improve. But hopefully, we can coach him similar to Adebayo. But Adebayo came with a bit more behind him, if you like, a bit more football nous, a bit more tactical nous and stuff, I think.
Yeah, a bit more technical ability as well, I think.
Technical, so that's where I think Abraham's lacking a little bit. I think he's a little bit
I'm a bit confused
backwards than what Adebayo was.
I'm a bit confused with Timmy Abraham, why his control is so poor. I know the level I played at was not great, but I mean, the ball is fizzing around very quickly, and when it comes to you, you've got somebody on you straight away. But I mean, he's from a footballing family. He's been playing since he was probably 8. How come his control is so poor?
It could be down to confidence and pressure as well. Obviously, if he's putting pressure on himself, I mean, for all we know, he might be thinking, "Do you know what? This is the last chance I've got to be in a league footballer," because he's not really. That's what I mean. He hasn't really pulled up any trees. So pressure on himself, his own confidence, and whether that affects him, kind of split decision making, stuff like that. It could be that.
I think you've got a good point there. It's that pressure, isn't it, for the young ones particularly? Daz has got a point. Go on.
So Rob beat me to it a little bit in the Adebayo analogy. We remember the player we got at the end. Adebayo. We remember the player that we had at the end rather than the player we had at the start sometimes. Yeah. And he wasn't as far away from Timmy in terms of contribution and performance as kind of he would be now. Yeah. I think they've gone very similar paths. They're obviously very similar players as well. I think there may well be a bit of growing to do, and he may well come good later on. But definitely, I agree with Rob completely. I think he's not quite ready for the first team yet.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely something there. And it's that nous. I think one thing that sort of disappointed me against Grimsby, the ball had come over the top and it was dropping down. He was 6 yards out, and now any striker with any striking nous would have just put a toe on that and put it in, and he tried to trap the ball. It's just that mentality. But as you say about the pressure, I've noticed with Ronan Mayer, he's snatching at his shots and he's knocking him over. Now he's an excellent finisher, Ronan Mayer. He's another one that perhaps needs his first goal. And the pressure, and I think it's easy to forget. I've got a few more years behind me, perhaps, but they're very young kids, aren't they? All of them, really. They're 20, 21, 22 are the oldest, aren't they, really? All these kids coming through, they are very young kids. It's the same for all other footballers, but I mean, it is a factor. Do you agree with that?
I do. I think we've got quite a good balance at the moment with experience and youth, but it's very difficult to expect young players to do well and be consistent with handfuls of games behind them. I think Rob's probably heard me talk about it before. Kind of 50 games is where if you know somebody's going to be a player by the time they get to 50 games, and we've got a number of players that have got like 750 games in the bank, and quite a few players who've got not very many, and not a lot in between.
But that confidence is such a big thing, isn't it? David Poyes made a comment, and it reminds me of Danny Johnson. He scored more goals this season than he scored the whole of last season for Mansfield. It's that little bit of confidence, and a goal or two for Timmy, and he could turn into a completely different player. His touch and his shine and everything. That back heel he tried against Telford in pre-season, well, that's the kind of buzz you want off him, and so maybe that will come. But when things aren't rolling for you, he suddenly looks a bad player. When in reality, he's probably not. He's probably not. Maybe we've been a bit hard on him. Danny Cashman, message from Sandy Lane boy. Danny Cashman will be a good signing for Walsall. He should have had a lot more games time at Rochdale. But we had Robbie Stockdale last season as manager, and he never knew his best 11. Well, and many managers have had that problem. Yet Danny Cashman, he's putting pressure on them all, isn't he? As a striker, you're always going to be under pressure, aren't you?
Yeah, I think you'll find probably that we'll start with Johnson and Williams up front Saturday, and if he's going to bring a striker off the bench, as long as he's fit, I think you'll find it probably will be Cashman ahead of Abraham, and I wouldn't be surprised to see one of Abraham and James Taylor left out of the squad, to be honest with you. But just going back a little bit on something that Daz says about players and 50 games and whether you know whether they're good enough, I think a lot of Walsall fans, obviously the start of the season was great and everyone was dead optimistic, but I think given the amount of change that we're going to have to go through and the amount of change that we needed from last season and previous seasons that have gone on, I think for Walsall to get promoted this season would be above where we probably should be aiming. I think because the amount of change we've got to go through, if we stabilise this season and we can keep a good core of the squad together for next season might be the one that we need to be judging whether we're kind of successful or failed based on whether we get in the playoffs or promoted. And I think that's the reason why a lot of the experienced players like Williams, Clark, obviously 36, 40, whatever they are, why they've been brought in on 1-year contracts to help the kids like Timmy Abraham and some of the younger ones to get that experience and to get that knowledge of league football whilst playing with them for a year. And then obviously next year, hopefully, their experience will have paid off. They may or may not still be here, but the kids will then go forward and get us to where we need to be.
Yeah, I think summarising that, I think we've got carried away with that excellent start, and we've got to sort of redress where we're likely to finish. And I think, what is it, top half would be a big improvement on last season, and good building blocks. For me personally, being in and around the playoffs would be, I'd be overjoyed with that, to be in and around the playoffs. Anything better than that would be obviously cloud cuckoo land, and we're helping too much perhaps. But you never know. As Lee said earlier, again, a good run, and it could all happen like it did for Bristol.
Well, I was just going to say, Simon, like I said, everybody's only played 6 games in the league, and I know it's still early days, but I don't think there's anybody out there at the moment that's like, I'm thinking, oh, they're like head and shoulders above everybody else. I know Leyton Orient have had a good start, and sort of Northampton have had a half decent start as well. But it's not like, I haven't seen anybody at the moment and gone, yeah, they're like a cut above everybody else in this division at the moment. It's sort of you're still finding teams finding the level and everything. I suppose give it another 6 or 7 games, and then you might see a couple of teams that are better than everybody else. But at the moment, I don't think there's a great deal, especially in that sort of top 14, top 15 teams. I think sort of on the day, everybody can sort of beat everybody else. So I think it's, like we said before, it's getting a bit of confidence and a bit of momentum going again, isn't it?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
There's not many teams going to sign a player as good as Connor Wilkinson in January.
No,
I think we have every right to expect to be in the top half. I think we spent enough. We've invested enough. I think there's players that we need to learn about. We haven't spent enough time in the top half of the league in the 3 years we've been in this league, and I think we need to reacquaint ourselves with that. But I think they should finish in the top half. They should finish in the top 10 and challenge.
Yeah.
But
yeah, well, that'd be nice. It's what I'm also always hopeful for is that joy, isn't it? And that joy is being in and around the exciting end of the division rather than the fearful trapdoor end. Just before we finish, match prediction or score prediction for Saturday. We'll do, and then where you think we'll finish in the league is probably a bit unfair. We'll leave that one. So, match prediction for Saturday, Daz?
2 each.
2 each. Good night, that one. Rob?
I'll go for 3 each. Go for crazy. All scored in the second half as well.
Lee?
I'm going to go for a 3-1 Walsall win with Timmy and Knowles and Mayer scoring the 3 goals.
Oh,
get that on down the bookies. You'll be rich.
That's why we love him. I fancy either a 1-1 or maybe a sneaky 1-0. Maybe a sneaky 1-0. So you think we're going to go 3-5-2 on Saturday?
Yeah, nailed on.
The Sibek, I don't think he'll be playing again. I hope not. He did all right on Tuesday, in fairness. The keeper.
Well, we did say sort of pre-season, didn't we, Simon? I said I think he'll improve as the weeks go by, because I think sort of pre-season everybody was thinking, what are we signed him for? But again, I think he's going to be another one for sort of development, isn't he? And I think he'll be a lot better second half of the season.
He made some good saves, but about 5 minutes in, one of their players lofted one went over his head and would have gone straight in the goal, but it just missed the goal. But it was like, you could see it happening. It was like he just lost sight of it completely. So back 3, I think we expect Donovan Daniels to come back in alongside Clark and Month. I think Taylor Allen and Bennett are going to get another shout, I think. You reckon?
I think that's what it'll go with. I don't know. Similar to the Kinsella-Conley debate, and you've got Bennett and White for the right wing back position. I think, again, the longer we get into the season and you know which teams are stronger than the others, and possibly for away games, maybe set up a little bit more defensively, depending on who you're playing.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go more defensive, you'd put White there. But at the minute, I'd probably stick with Bennett until you know a little bit more about the league and the kind of calibre of team you're facing.
And then we got in the CDM roles. Is he going to go Kinsella and Comley when Comley's not fully
go
fit?
with the two, wouldn't he?
I'd be happy if he went Kinsella and Earing, because Earing can play well CDM and he's got an eye coming forward.
Yeah, I think he might actually start Earing. It then just depends which one of the two he puts next to him. I'd probably say it'll be Kinsella, given that Comley's had a bit of an injury, but you never know.
So then the probably DJ and Andy Williams up front. So who's going to play in the number 10? Ronan Mayer, I think probably not the game for him, I would think.
I think Knowles.
Yeah. I was going to say Hutch has not really shone very much. Knowles looks the most exciting option there, I think. Do we agree there? He'll probably play completely different, and I'll probably be wrong completely again. I didn't predict. Go on. Sorry,
Simon. I was just going to say, I think Flynn will shock us all, and we'll go 3-4-3.
Well, against Charlton,
let's go for it.
I thought he won't play. Or he should play Kinsella and Comley against Charlton, and then he completely switched it round to great effect.
Well, we've still got 2.5 hours to sign Bakuna, so supposedly we're signing Bakuna for the past 2 weeks. So
yeah, I've seen a little bit about that.
If anybody's seen Rob's tweets in the last week, I'm going to go 4-5-2. I am
4-5-2.
Christ. Yeah, you got to know what I'm about with them two guys.
He's a bit of an in-job with 4-5-2.
Oh,
do you know who I'm talking about when I'm?
No, I don't. You need to. We'll have a convo. But in terms of Knowles, from memory, Bradford feels like a big pitch, and he may well be able to exploit some space on that field.
Yeah.
So I'd definitely in that kind of number 10 role. I agree, Knowles.
Yeah, but he needs that support, doesn't he? So I think Earing is one of the CDMs has got a chance, I think.
Yep.
Oh dear.
It's an interesting statement on the chat there at the bottom.
Yeah, that Aussie's not known for standing on the fence or sitting on the fence. Controversial statement. Flynn can go for me. Yeah, I think Aussie, we got to give him time. Like everybody
for that.
In a new role, you've just got your team together. As Lee says, we've had 6 games. Let's not crucify anybody just yet. I think he's got learning points, and he does need to develop as a manager as well as the players do. So it's everybody's learning. Every day is a learning day.
If Flynn can't get out of the division, then who can?
Saying that, Simon, saying that Scott Parker's available.
Scott Parker? He ain't changing any managers anytime soon. Right then, I think we'll call it quits for now. Hopefully we're going to see some smiles and a bit of joy on Saturday. That'll be nice. But for now, thanks guys for joining us. Been a good chat. We'll get together again in about another 7 or 8 games, and hopefully we'll be all smiles then. Nice one. Thank you very much for watching. Walsall Fan TV, the joy and the pain.